This is the Pork Chop Express, and I'm sending this out there to anybody who's listening on a dark and stormy night. Today we're going all the way back to 1986 to look at a little gem of a motion picture, Big Trouble in Little China. But before we dig into this gem anymore, before we look into this any further, once and again, and as always, to the trailer.
This is Jack Burton in the Pork Chop Express, and I'm talking to whoever's listening out there. It's a pretty amazing planet we live on here, and a man would have to be some kind of fool to think we're all alone in this universe.
There is a hidden world where ancient evil weaves a modern mystery.
What's going on here? Is this some kind of...
Magic. The darkest magic.
They call it Little China.
Finally, we shall bring order out of chaos.
It's where Big Trouble was waiting for Jack Burton.
Who? Jack Burton. Me.
Jack!
Jack?
Jack!
They told him to go to hell.
You make one move.
And that's just where he's going.
Somebody, I don't care who, tell me what is going on.
How are you gonna spring us?
I have no idea.
All right, everybody, this little gem was directed by John Carpenter. Now, before I get into his list of movies, which you know he's my favorite director, you know the list is long. I want to introduce you, of course, I got my son Kyle here with me today, who was with me a few episodes ago on our big 200 subscriber extravaganza. But now he's going to be here to fact check me in case I miss anything, as we do the entire list of Carpenter flicks. You ready?
Born ready.
Oh, nice. Okay, here we go. We're talking Dark Star, Assault on Precinct 13, Halloween, The Fog, Escape from New York, The Thing, Christine, Prince of Darkness, They Live, Memoirs of an Invisible Man, Village of the Damned, In the Mouth of Madness, Vampires, Ghosts of Mars, Escape from L.A., and very, very, very much later, The Ward. Did I miss anything?
Starman.
Stop! God damn it! Damn it! Shit! It's gonna be one of those nights, folks. Alright, you know he's my favorite actor of all time. Him in the Eastwood, it's just the way it goes. We're talking as Jack Burton himself, Kurt Russell. Let's do this thing. We're talking about he has been in awesome flicks like Used Cars, which I've already reviewed, Escape from New York, and Captain Ron, and The Best of Times, which I've also already done, and Overboard, and The Mean Season, which you have to watch if you haven't already, and The Thing, perfection, and Silkwood, and Soldiers, and 3,000 Miles to Graceland, and Death Proof, and The Hateful Eight, and Miracle about the hockey team. So his career is monstrous, his career is long. That's all there is to it.
Overboard, man. You gotta mention Overboard. I don't think you overboarded.
God damn!
Did you overboard? Are you? You might have.
I don't know, but how can we forget the goal?
You can say Overboard twice. It's worth it.
Overboard twice. And playing Gracie Law before she sold her soul to that horrible television show, which led to a couple of really shit movies. Kim Cattrall. Let's go. We're talking about she was in some 80s gems like Police Academy and Mannequin and Turk 182, and she even popped up in Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, if anybody remembers that, and The Bond Family, or The Vanities, and Return of the Musketeer, and tons and tons and tons of TV work. And like we just mentioned, Sex in the City, the greatest scourge ever in the history of motion pictures and or television cinema.
Porky's, though.
Yeah. Let's choose Porky's. Did I mention Porky's?
I don't think you did Porky's.
Jesus, what's the matter
You're
with
missing
me
the
today?
big ones
I'm missing
today.
the big ones. I hate this. Playing Wang Chi, one of my favorites. Dennis Dunn. You know he was in Prince of Darkness, which I've already reviewed, and you know I love that motion picture. But he's done some other things, so let's go. We're talking about he has been in things like Year of the Dragon, The Last Emperor, Warriors of Virtue, Journey from the Heart, Good Luck, Up Close and Personal, and he was on TV shit, you know, Grace Under Fire, what the hell was the other one? I can't remember it now. It doesn't make a difference anyway. We gotta keep moving. Playing David Lopan, the one and the only James Hong. We're talking about, we all know, he was in Blade Runner, but a bunch of other stuff too. We're talking about he was in things like Airplane, and The Golden Child, and Tango and Cash, and The Perfect Weapon, for fuck's sake, and Tank Girl, and tons of TVs. You know, tons of TV, from Doogie Howser to all the way back in the days of Starsky and Hutch. So, long career, been around, still going with us today, thank God. Legend. Playing Egg Shen, the one and only
Victor Wong.
Victor fucking Wong. Here we go. We're talking about he has been in things like Tremors, which you know we all love and enjoy. He was in Prince of Darkness, which you know I worship. And he was in The Last Emperor, and Three Ninjas, and The Joy Luck Club, and The Golden Child, and The Year of the Dragon, and Shanghai Surprise. So, no longer with us, but Victor Wong was fucking cool as shit while he was here. Playing Margo, Kate Burton. Not a household name, but she's been around. She's been in stuff like The Ice Storm and Unfaithful, and The First Wives Club, and TV, you know, The Practice, Rescue Me, Home Fries, Spencer for Hire, Scandal. So, she was out there, she was about there, she was in some things, just the way it goes. And also there's an armada of other people in this motion picture, many of them from the Asian community. They all need to be mentioned. They all deserve some credit because this thing is a gem and they were all part of it. We're talking about people like Peter Kwong, who was Rain, and he was in Angel Town and Never Too Young to Die, and Carter Wong as Thunder, who was in Way the Black Dragon and The Furious Killer, and Donald Lee, who played Eddie Lee. And he was in Deep Core and One Crazy Summer and U.S. Marshals, and James Pax, who played Lightning. And he was in Invasion USA and Love Among the Triad. He was on TV, you know, Matlock, Nash Bridges, that kind of shit. And then Suzee Pai, who played Miao Yin. And she was really just a Penthouse Pet of the Month in 1981. And when I say really, I'm not downgrading that. And then you got Chao-Li Chi, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right because I always mess it up. It's Uncle Chu, and he was in Dragon, The Bruce Lee Story, and The Joy Luck Club. Jeff Imada is in this goddamn thing too. I mean, we're talking stunt coordinator, stunt man extraordinaire. Did everything from The Crow to Double Dragon to Rising Sun. Legend. Leong, who played in Lethal Weapon, Die Hard, and Awesome Asian Bad Guys with a whole bunch of also awesome Asian bad guys. And James Liu, for Christ's sakes, who's been in everything from The Perfect Weapon to Action Jackson. And Cary Tagawa, who's in Rising Sun and Mortal Kombat, and Gerald Okamura, who played in The Shadow and Rapid Fire and The Octagon. So this thing is just littered with human beings that need to be mentioned. They need to be remembered because their parts in this are massive and legendary. And they're all just legendary in the martial arts community shit anyway. So there you go. Okay, everybody, I'm going to do this in 90 seconds or less so we can keep it short, keep it fast, keep it entertaining, keep it moving, so we can get to the summation where me and Kyle are going to cut loose and we're all going to have a whole bunch of fun and do what we're really going to do. Anyway, you got this guy, Jack Burton, driving his little pork chop express, and he stops in Chinatown to hang out with his buddy Wang Chi, do a little bit of gambling, a little bit of playing some goddamn game. We can never figure out what exactly the thing is. They're hanging out, and all of a sudden, Wang Chi says, "Hey man, you've won too much money. We're going to do double or nothing." Well, that doesn't go in Wang's favor, so he has to go back to his restaurant and get some more cash to pay Jack. But he tells Jack he has to go to the airport. Why? Because his girlfriend, who he hasn't seen in 5 years, is coming over, who he's going to marry, one Miao Yin. The boys head over to the airport. What do? They run into Gracie Law, who's there to pick up somebody else. Long story, you don't really care right now. Anyway, before you know it, this gang shows up, the Lords of Death, and they take Miao Yin. Not really intentionally, not their first choice, but it's just where they wound up. And they steal her. The boys give chase. They go looking for her. They chase down an alleyway to find the Lords of Death and see if they can get Miao Yin back. Where they run into? One, David Lo Pan himself, the Walking Dead. Call him whatever you want. It doesn't really make a difference. They hightail it out of there. They join forces. They meet up with Gracie Law. They go back. They get Eddie. They all go on a mission and an adventure to rescue Miao Yin in a pickup truck and Gracie Law, who gets kidnapped later on, but you'll see all that take place, and bring them back safely and in one piece. That's basically just the story. You probably know it already. And no matter what, don't want to tell you too much because that would fuck it all up. You have to experience this for yourself. It is the way it is. Okay, everybody. Does Big Trouble in Little China work? As you can tell by this probably a tenth of Kyle's collection of memorabilia of Big Trouble in Little China's ship, Big Trouble in Little China works. It's simply put, a perfect motion picture. A perfect motion picture that will always leave you smiling and happy when it's over. No matter what your mood was going in, no matter what your day was like, this movie is going to lift you up to a higher place. And it's one of the few motion pictures that I will dare say is a perfect motion picture.
I wouldn't deny any of that. It's not perfect, and you're going to look at it and say there's nothing where you can say that doesn't make entirely a lot of sense. It's perfect, and it just hits every goal it sets to be a fun, good time.
Right.
It just hits that out of the park.
They achieved everything they set out to do in this motion picture. They hit all the beats. They nailed all the spots. And the rhythm of it is perfect. I got to do the big three. You know what that means. Okay, let's go by the numbers. The directing. The directing's perfect.
I can't fault it anywhere.
The directing is perfect. It's fun to look at. It's pretty to look at. But it makes you feel like you're in a fantasy setting most of the time. So the directing is great. And I love how you could tell when they go from real city streets to go to like back lot alleyways that you know didn't exist.
Fun fact about that set, as soon as they go onto that back lot, I believe Janet Jackson used that in videos.
Did she really?
I believe that set lived like another 20 years. As of
really?
As of the time of the commentary, Carpenter said they were still using that set.
That's insane.
And I'm pretty sure, I don't know which song it is, but if you check a Janet Jackson video, you will see the back alleys of Big Trouble in China.
That's too perfect. Now, this is why this was crucial for Kyle to be here. He knows everything about.
I wouldn't go that far.
Right, he's a dieharder. He's a dieharder. So he's got a lot of knowledge.
It's my favorite movie by a country mile. Nothing comes close.
Nothing ever comes close. I can't tell you how many times sitting around the house when he was young, we did the.
Oh yeah.
The hand thing, the quotes, the whole thing. It was part of our lexicon. My wife named her second card, which she still has, Gracie Law. And she still calls that card Gracie. She names all her cards. It is what it is. Okay.
Jack Burton's my yearbook quote. I mean, Christ.
There you go. Yeah. There you go. That's very true. So, okay. The writing. The writing is brilliant. The writing is littered with one-liners that you will remember and recite for decades and for years. Make no bones about it. You will sit there and quote this movie if you've seen this movie at one point or another.
I'd say it's probably the most quotable movie I've ever seen in my life.
God.
I mean, it opens up with Kurt Russell laying down like 3 spiels, like right before the movie really even takes off. I mean, it's just him riffing for.
You can't not quote this movie sometimes. Once you've seen it, you know what I mean? You sit there and you throw the shit, even if it's just a little shit. Even if it's just going, indeed, you're gonna use it. You're gonna use it because it's so fucking memorable, and you can't help but spit the shit out of your mouth. It's just too perfect. So the writing, on point. The acting,
flawless.
Top to bottom, every human being in this is flawless. Whether it's even the supporting characters. I don't care if it's rain, thunder, and lightning. You watch them and you say, they're doing this perfect. Mm-hmm. They're doing this perfect. Everybody nails this, from the smallest characters. Uncle Chu, it doesn't make a difference. The mood that they set through their acting is dead on, spot on right for a motion picture like this. And it just makes the whole thing cohesively spot on perfect. Mm-hmm. You're going to keep hearing that. We're going to sit here and fanboy out over this probably for the next 10 minutes.
I can't fault it. I just can't fault it.
It is what it is. Okay, back on track to where we were. What makes this motion picture perfect is 2 things. It sets out to be what it set out to be and achieved it perfectly, and it always makes you feel good. Mm. And what could you ever want more from a motion picture?
If I'm having a bad day, all I need to do is hear the soundtrack start to play, and I'm smiling. I'm a happy guy. It just any mood I'm in, it just makes me happy, flat out.
You can't get around it. You can't get around it. And on top of that, from a technical point of view, how cool is it watching a motion picture done with practical effects?
Oh, it's a ball.
Oh my God! All the masks and the rubberized shit and the big, I don't know what the big fucking Bigfoot monster is or whatever the hell he's supposed to be, which you never really know. I guess he's just a henchman. It's just in there. Or the all-seeing orb head with the eyeballs all over the place. Seeing that shit, or the big fucking thing, the big, I don't know, spider cockroach comes out of the wall.
Yeah.
That kind of shit, just seeing that, they fuck it up today.
Oh,
they fuck it up today 3 ways from Sunday by putting CGI in there. But
and they still might. We'll get back to that.
Yeah, let's not even get into that. That's going to be a disgrace if they ever remake this motion picture. But seeing the practical effects that are in something like this is legendary.
And it's amazing, too, because I didn't know like how much of a budget this really had for its day. Wasn't small. Bigger than Aliens.
Really?
I think it was 25 mil, he said.
Nice.
I think Carpenter said after cutbacks it was like 20, 25, and James Hong also said it was a $25 million movie.
It's crazy.
I think Aliens was like 16.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, Aliens was almost a decade ahead, or like 7.
No, Aliens.
The second one.
Same year.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
This had about third more budget, which is just insane.
Hey, you had a hell of a big cast in this thing. You had to hire like probably every martial artist floating around in California at the time. You know, from Imada to Liu to all those dudes that were at Leong. Again, this isn't when they were Leong. This isn't when they were James. I mean, their careers got bigger and bigger over years with all the stuff they choreographed and all the movies they were in. But they were still names. They were guys you recognized. And to put that many people in there, in the sets, that lair, which made no sense, by the way, because why would a bad guy be in a lair with fucking neon everywhere that looked like a fucking fried food chicken vat or something like, you know what I'm saying? But it was perfect because it made no sense. You looked at it and you're like, okay, it doesn't make sense, but neither does a hat with a giant hat pin going through his head holding it on. It's just, you just said it's perfect. It's so bizarre. It's fucking perfect. You know what I mean? What are you going to do? And one of the things that's great too about this motion picture is the use of the lead character.
Oh, he's perfect.
Oh my God. Because he's an idiot.
Yeah, they really made him absolutely useless throughout 99% of this flick. And Carpenter, because I watched the commentary before we went and did this, he kept praising Kurt Russell because he kept saying most leading guys wouldn't do this. You completely lampooned yourself and went out there and made yourself look like an idiot.
Right.
Which I watched this because I watched this again with my friends a couple days before. Some of them hadn't seen it. And by the end of the movie, they're like, this guy's a moron. And anytime he does something good, they're like stunned, like, holy shit, he did it. He really comes across as this blowhard moron the whole movie, but he does it so perfectly.
Oh my God.
And I think I like it too, because as much as he's an idiot, he's really the voice of the audience the whole time.
Well, yeah, he was your 80s action hero. That swagger, that ego, that, you know, everything's all right as long as I'm here. Everything centers around me. I'm this amazing thing. Except that he failed at it every single time. But he had a good heart.
And he was courageous as shit.
And every now and so often, the broken clock would be the right time, and he would pull off something amazing. But everybody around him is more capable than him. Everybody around him is pulling off shit left and right. Wang Chi is the real hero.
Yeah, he's the one who's getting the shit done.
Yeah.
It's really, they're going after his girl. He's getting everything done. But, you know, when you gotta give Jack his credit, because when he sees the 3 storms just descend out of the sky, he doesn't run, he doesn't hide.
No.
Walks up, punches him twice in the face, realizes he can't take him, and he gets pelted across the room. But he did it.
That's
all that matters.
He was delusional in his own greatness, which is what made him brilliant. He couldn't do the shit that he thought he could do, but he would try to do the shit that like, you know what I mean? He would just dive in. One of the great lines, this movie's loaded with one-liners, is when they take fucking Miao Yin and he just goes, son of a bitch, must pay. And you're just like, that's fucking brilliant, because this guy is saying, let's go kick some ass, let's go do it. Except he can't kick ass and he can't do it. But he's diving in anyway, you know what I mean?
It's really fun, too, to try to think of yourself watching it, because I was so young when I saw this.
Yeah.
I was like 5. But looking back, it's like, if you don't know what's going to happen, and you're watching the movie, you're like, all right, you know, he's Kurt Russell. He's going to be the star. He's going to kick ass.
Snake fucking Plissken.
Snake Plissken. And then, you know, you see him, and he can catch the bottle at the game.
Right,
He's like,
right.
this guy's going to be an ass kicker. And then you're starting to slowly see that he's not. Like in the airport, when he goes after the Lord of Death. And then he just kind of gets back down the whole time. Gets swept off his feet.
Yeah.
And then you get to the
How'd you get that?
Yeah. And then he gets to the alleyway, and everybody's pulling out guns, and he whips out a knife. And you're like, boy, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And then he just goes on this downward slide doing progressively dumber and dumber shit.
Yep.
But, I mean, like when Rain's sitting there torturing him and he's like, come fight me like a man.
It's just brilliant.
Yeah.
But when he jumps on the back of Thunder, that's a ballsy
That's
move.
ballsy.
He dies right on him, and then he gets his ass knocked back, and he does it again.
There's no quitting. I mean, it's consistent the whole movie.
Right. He stays true to himself. The character stays true to himself.
Even in the airport, when Gracie Law is shitting on him, calling him just smelly piece of shit, doesn't deflect Jack.
No,
he's
not
going to
at
keep
all.
hitting on her until she wants him. It's just what he's going to do.
Exactly.
The only thing he wants to do is occasionally call the cops in the beginning of the movie because he's like, I don't want to get killed. But then he just turns around and he's like, we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done.
It was brilliant just because the characters, and this stayed true through the movie, and this is one of the things you've heard me talk about a lot on this channel, is that you need the characters and you need the theme of the movie to stay true to themselves. Because once you break out of that, once you take a character and all of a sudden you do something where you're like, well, that character wouldn't have done that. That doesn't fit. You pulled everybody out of the movie. Or if you have a movie with a set bunch of rules, and then all of a sudden you start breaking the rules, a la everything in the fucking Disney Star Wars movies, and it destroyed everything, you wreck the universe you created. But Big Trouble in Little China, it stayed true to the universe it made, no matter how fucking crazy it was. And you felt like, okay, this is the world they're making, and I'm going to live with it. Even when fucking Egg Chen and David Lopan play fucking video games, and they're fighting with video games.
My fucking friends were watching that, and one of them said, oh, calm the fuck out.
Exactly. How do you not love that fucking moment, man? When they just sit there and you're like, did this... I remember watching it. I was like 16, 17, whatever it was. And I'm watching the movie and I'm like, how farther are they going to go? And I'm completely in love with it. I'm like, how farther are they going to go? And when they said, and then the fucking samurais appeared in video game form and started fighting, I'm like, are you fucking me? Are you kidding me? They couldn't go. This is brilliant.
I was so enamored with that as a kid, too, that because David Lopan was the bad guy and he used green. My favorite color was green.
Green, yeah.
So Egg Shen used purple. I was like, well, I have to... Blue, I guess, is my favorite color now because Egg Shen used purple and blue. Can't be with Lopan. He's evil. So, I mean, yeah. The movie just... Everything is oddly believable when it shouldn't be. The fact that
that's true.
Underneath Chinatown, there's an entire layer, elaborate network of this dude's personal hellhole, of this undead, former feudal Chinese warrior. You're like, that should make no sense. But for some reason, you don't sit there and say, oh, that's stupid. You just roll with it. I think it's, too, because the movie never, ever takes itself too seriously. Right. It's never trying to give you a moral lesson. No. It doesn't try to sit there and patronize you. It gives you all the exposition is on the run when you need to know. Right. It's just a fun, tongue-in-cheek, have a good time
And
movie.
did you notice when they do the exposition in this movie? Somebody in the background will look mildly fucking annoyed by it when they're sitting there doing it, because it's brilliant. Whenever Gracie Law or Margo will say some stupid fucking shit, come in, and they'll be like, oh, you mean David Lopan, head of blah blah industries, and blah blah, notorious gangster underworld with Hang Chung and blah blah, and all this other kind of stuff. And they're just spitting out facts that you kind of need to know. Everybody in the room kind of looks at them like, oh, Jesus, here she goes again. Or, you know what I mean? Or fucking Jack Burton with the, who the hell are you anyway? You know what I mean? It's like always, they're making fun of the fact that they're just putting exposition in the middle of the movie.
Because
right in there.
When I watch it, I always think to myself, like, Gracie and Jack are really the ones, to me, in playing the role of the audience, kind of always asking, what the hell is actually going on here? Someone, I don't care who, tell me what the hell is going on. Right. Is exactly how these people act, and then you need your Wangs and your Eggs and your Uncle Chus to explain, okay, this is what it is, here's what it is. But it's never you're sitting down for 30 minutes or hour long trying to figure out, here's everything, here's the shit that David Lopan took 4 years ago and I wiped his ass. It's neat to know, it keeps you going at the perfect pace, because this movie is paced almost perfectly.
It's what is it, hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes, some shit like
roughly,
that, whatever it is. It goes by so quick, because you're having so much fun, that you can sit there and the whole time you're like, we're almost to the end already, because there's never a point where you get bored. There's never a point where you're not laughing. And that's one of the things I always scream about. You always hear pacing, pacing, pacing. This movie has no dead spots.
That's the thing.
There's no dead spot where you're sitting there like, come on, move it along, this is a waste of time. You're always sitting there like, it's just, that's what I meant about hitting the beats earlier. It's like a song, they're just hitting the beats, and you're rolling with the beats, and all the beats are just perfect in the motion picture like this. So, you can't fault it. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where they just nailed it spot on.
Just really, it keeps it moving without ever slowing down. Foot's never off the pedal in the way that it shouldn't be.
Right.
There's always, you can look at this plot and be like, it goes bang, 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 done.
Right.
And it just...
And the exposition comes so fast. It's usually in like 15-second clips.
Yeah.
Where somebody, for 15 seconds, will fit it in. There's none of that. Some movies will do that shit where you'll see two guys in a diner for fucking 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And he'll give the whole backstory, and the other guy will ask the questions that you're wondering, and then he'll give the backstory, and it fucking slows the movie down like a drag. But this was brilliant because the exposition was given by like 4 or 5 different characters in 15 or 20-second blurbs, so that by time, it doesn't slow anything down. It's like, okay, Margo told you this, Gracie told you that, Chu told you this, Egg told you that, and it's little 8 or 9 sentences at most, it's usually probably shorter, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, I know exactly what's going on, without being bored of two fucking Nimrods trying to, back and forth with, what the hell is going on in the motion picture. So it's one of those things where you're like, oh, that's perfect. You can't time a motion picture or pace it better than that. You know what I mean? You know what else I've noticed? Did you ever notice Kurt Russell wears weird boots in every John Carpenter movie?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, I mean, Assault on Precinct, or pardon me, Escape from New York, he's got those crazy motorcycle racing boots from the fucking 70s.
Take fucking golf cleats onto the hedgerow just to make himself...
Those might have even come with that kind of shoe. Because those were motorcycle racing shoes for like the guys who used to really lean on the tracks, and they would scrape and do all kinds of crazy shit. And I think you could actually go buy them shoes still to this day. Then in this, he's wearing those like weird semi-moccasins all the way up to his knees, which is just fucking bizarre.
Which I love too, that he slapdash disguise he's wearing. Then he gets back to her apartment, he's still got knee-high moccasins on underneath this. God.
And you know what? That's the thing. I remember when Kurt Russell did Death Proof. And at the end of the thing where the character bitches out in the end of Death Proof, if you've never seen it. One of the things that fucking Tarantino said was like, Kurt came up to him and said, how far can I go with this? And Tarantino was like, go as far as you want. And he said, I had no idea how far he was going to... He had no qualms about destroying the coolness of his character, or the scariness. And in this, he does the same thing. When he comes out as Henry Swanson...
Oh, my God.
And he's doing that shit.
Sure is raining cats and dogs.
Yeah. I mean, it's not deductible. And the whole thing, you're just like, this fucking guy doesn't care. As an actor... He doesn't give a shit. He's just playing with this character, having the time of his life. Yeah. And he doesn't give a rat's ass that he's going to look like a tool.
It's funny, too, because I was, again, listening to the commentary, and Kurt Russell was like, before this, pretty much every movie I made is bombing. So he's like, I asked John, I was like, you sure you want me in this? I'm like the touch of death right now, so... But he said with Overboard was the only thing he really had that was making anything.
Really? Wow.
He said,
funny to think back there.
Oh, it seems like he had hit an uptick after that, because he had Soldier and all those. And
Soldier, I don't even know if Soldier was that big of a hit.
I don't think it was huge.
But he had great movies. Like, to me, The Mean Season is a phenomenal motion picture. But it wasn't a big motion picture. But The Mean Season was as good as it's going to get. And of course, he had whether it was Swing Shift or Crap and Run and all those kind of things. You know what I mean? He's one of those guys that's always... He's a star, but he's not like that ridiculous level star where he's going to get $25 million a movie and he can do whatever he wants and the scripts, that kind of shit. But he's always right there.
I think he's just kind of like that cult star.
Exactly.
Everything he's in, it's like, The Thing, that's one of the greatest movies ever. Bombed on
It bombed it when it fucking
Big Trouble bombed on
Big Trouble bombed when it. But look at the movies he was in. That Used Cars was not a massive thing, but it's a cult favorite.
Yeah,
people talk about fucking used cars, and you're like, one of the greatest comedies of all time. And there he goes. And one of the things, too, about the way that they made the character, and they embarrassed him in this with red lipstick and all the other shit that they were just throwing him under the bus with his character, it worked perfectly. When they started doing this shit a little bit to, like, Snake Plissken and Escape from L.A., you're like, no, dude, no, that's Snake fucking Plissken. You don't do that to Snake fucking Plissken. But you can do that to Jack Burton. Because Jack Burton is like the inevitable puppy dog who, no matter what goes wrong, he just keeps trying. Yeah. And he doesn't realize that he's falling down the stairs. He just keeps trying to go up the stairs, no matter what, thinking he's in control of the situation. And it's just, that's what makes you love the character. You know? He doesn't sit there and say, I just shot rocks under my head. I'm a fucking moron. He doesn't think that. He dives right in and walks right into the room with David Lopan like no sweat.
That's the thing.
You know?
He just waltzes right up, talks shit to two dudes who could just snap his neck in half a second. And I love the direction of that scene too, where he shoots the rocks, because it shows him getting hit over the head with them, and then it cuts back, and it's just him laid out completely on his back, completely unconscious.
And then 3 minutes later, the big guard is laying down and stabs him, and he can't get out from under the dude. And fucking Wang Chi is flying through the air, sword fighting. Everybody's kicking the shit out of somebody, and he's laying there under a guy, and he can't get unstuck. And you're like, this guy's a fucking moron. But he just keeps going. He's like Rocky Balboa.
Yeah.
He just keeps going. That was the thing about the Rocky movies. Rocky couldn't fight. He really couldn't. I mean, he didn't belong in a ring with Apollo Creed. But as he was getting his ass whooped, what did he do? He just kept going. And that's what Jack Burton does. And that's what makes him awesome. He just keeps going with a delusional sense of that he's important. You know what I mean? Just, you know, it's like, everybody relax, I'm here. It's fucking brilliant. How many times have I said that at work? You know, I was walking into a room and spit that out, and people look at me like, what an asshole. I'm like, yes, that's the point. I'm supposed to be an asshole right now. I'm trying. This is my Jack Burton. And how many times have I said, hey, you know, keep the home fires burning. If I'm not back, call the president. And people will look at you like, if they haven't seen this movie, they're like,
they just think you're an asshole.
You're a fucking dick. Which is even better.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that makes it even funnier, because you walk away laughing and you're like, they don't even know. They don't even know. You know, they don't even get what I'm doing right now. And that makes it better. It makes it better. Before we check off, man, hit me, you know about this motion picture. Hit me with some fun facts about Big Trouble in Little China.
Just watching some stuff before this. Rain there, Peter Kwong, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Apparently he didn't know this was a comedy until he was deep into it. Apparently, I think it was during the sword fight scene he found out. It was like, I don't think this is a fully serious film.
It's just bizarre that it didn't hit him.
Apparently he said that the script, he only got a piece of it during the audition. And he's like, it was all just need to know shit. So he's like, I'm doing the thing, and he's like, I'm looking at the eyebrow raise and all that, and just figuring that out. Like, oh.
Well, you know what? Some Asian martial arts movies are so bizarre.
Yeah.
That maybe he said, well, this is just par for the fucking course. But still, you know, you would have thought that it would have. When you say something like that, I think, did they film the end first? And then he knew after that or something? But still, that's kind of crazy. I mean, who knows?
I was watching something with James Hong, and he put this movie up there with Blade Runner in terms of his cherished memories making movies.
That's too cool.
He's like, certain ones you let go and you just don't really think about. He said Big Trouble is one of his by far favorite memories, things he put up there with Blade, which is awesome, because
that's just too cool.
Everybody just looks at Blade Runner and such a totally different movie than this. Right. But I love Blade Runner. Obviously, you love it. Oh, God, for me, like at the heart, it's Big Trouble. But it's kind of a crazy thing the way this movie kind of bombed the way that it did in theaters, because Kurt Russell was talking about it in the commentary again. He was saying that audience screenings and critic screenings were like through the roof. Everybody was loving it before the movie, and he said he had people coming up to him saying, "How does it feel to know you're going to be in the biggest movie of the year?" And he was like, "Oh wow, this is happening," and then it just completely dead on arrival. Apparently, only had a $3 million marketing.
Well, your marketing is almost supposed to equal the budget of your movie. And from what I heard John Carpenter say, the studio was upset because they expected Indiana Jones. They expected even a Romancing the Stone. They expected something where the hero was a hero. And this is in the time of Rambo and Commando and fucking, you know, Indiana Jones and all those Cobra. And you come and you deliver Jack Burton.
Yeah.
And that's a hard pill for people to
And
swallow.
I've gotten that from people where somebody will like watch it and be like, oh, I hated that movie because I expected Kurt Russell to kick ass, and then he doesn't. Which to me, it's like, that's great though.
That's
the
what
point.
makes him awesome
Yeah.
in this motion picture. You seen him kick ass in fucking Escape. You seen him kick ass in The Thing.
Yeah.
And then you put him in this, and he's an inept, bumbling idiot. And you're like, that is exactly the perfect thing, because it's exactly what wasn't supposed to happen.
And apparently Dennis Dunn kicking all that ass. He had like no martial arts background whatsoever. That was
They had to have a double for him in there.
But
there was some crazy shit.
Yeah,
going
no,
on.
I'm not saying he did all his own stuff. I'm not sure, but apparently he had like no training whatsoever, which is crazy given the amount of guys who were the top guys on set.
There was some real dudes in that motion picture. A lot of real names, real martial artists.
Another reason why Kurt Russell is also a god amongst men is because he was actually driving the truck throughout most of the movie.
Really?
When he's going down that alleyway, apparently he had like a 2-inch clearance on the set, and he was still doing it, still making it.
That's
apparently that was
cool.
really him. I think they were saying that's really him when like he's going to the alleyway, they hit the sign. Carpenter mentioned that he told everybody on set, don't play this too straight. Have fun with it. Take it light. It's not, we're not making fucking Schindler's List here. Except I think Dennis Dunn, he had him play it relatively straight as the hero, if you want to argue it. Dennis Dunn in an interview basically said he didn't view himself as the hero. He didn't see it like, oh, I'm the main star. But Carpenter and Kurt Russell both adamantly say he was the hero of the film, which he really is.
He wasn't the main star. He wasn't the main focal point, but he was the hero.
Yeah.
There's no other way to look at it, because Jack Burton was just he was his sidekick, really. Jack Burton was his
He comes
sidekick.
up clutch at one particular moment.
Right.
And he's there, and he's courageous, and he's definitely the eyes of the audience. But when you look at the guy who's really getting the shit done,
Right.
It's
fucking
Wang
Wang.
Chi.
It's Wang Chi.
And I love, just saying his name, I love the scene where they're going down the alleyway, and they see the Lords of Death, and like, Wang Chi, looking for us? And they just have to take off running. For some reason that sticks to me. And if you look in the background, through the fog, you can see the guys from the airport standing there, and the one whips out that baton thing he's going to smack Jack with, and it's just, as they're staring at him, they just have to run off. I love that scene.
The movie is just so spot on.
That's another thing that's really fun with this flick, though, is the banter between the characters, I think, is nailed in this. The fact that it's not like one person steamrolls somebody else verbally. They always hit back and forth, and it makes each character kind of more respectable and fun, because that's how people actually talk.
Right.
Like in the airport, it doesn't go, Gracie shits on Jack and then he skulks away or something.
Right.
They keep going back and forth, and when they're having the first talk with Lopan in the wheelchairs, that's one of the greatest scenes in motion picture history, in my opinion. Him just standing there. Like, none of this is out of the ordinary. Like, he's just going to waltz out of here any minute now.
But I love the line that always got me in that, when he leans in and he goes, are you insane? Is that your problem? Dude, every time I hear that, I fucking break up fucking laughing. And then the way he approaches it, because Kurt Russell in this motion picture said he played John Wayne. That's when he was trying to find inspiration of what to do for this motion picture. He said, I'm just going to play John Wayne. And the way that he talks, the way that swagger goes, he's playing John Wayne. And the way that when he's talking to David Lopan, here he is with this super powerful fucking semi-dead, whatever wizard, I don't know what the fuck you want to call him, all this other kind of stuff. And as soon as they get together and they're having their first conversation, he's like, Dave, first girl in 2,000 years, you couldn't find another. You're not looking really hard. And he starts talking to him like he's talking to some guy in a diner. Not some guy that has him tied up with these fucking killers all around him and all this. And he's just fucking bull jamming his way through it. But the characters, one of the things that made all the characters great in this is that none of them, when I say bull jam, they didn't bullshit anything, because everybody said exactly what they were thinking at that moment. If somebody said, who the fuck are you? It was, who the fuck are you? If somebody looked at somebody and said, are you crazy? It was, are you crazy? If you're inept, they would look at you and say, how many times did you see Gracie and stuff, just looking at him, like when he threw the knife and he missed? And he goes, oh, and she looks at him like, oh, jeez. You know what I mean?
I was when I was watching with my friends, and everybody broke up when they saw that shot, because it reinforces the disappointment of them just saying, they're like, you idiot.
Exactly.
Why would you even try? Especially because before that scene, he talks wild shit about, I got a knife. Right. Don't worry. And then he comes in, talks wild shit to these two deities, and then fucks up immediately.
Exactly. And it wasn't even close.
No.
Like, Lopan just watched the knife go by him.
He just mildly
Kind of looks at him like, really? Is that your best shot? And then fucking Gracie Law does the head of disappointment, like they were a married couple for 80 years and just does a thing. You're like, this is perfect. Just the way that they're playing it. Because they didn't, all of a sudden, it wasn't a break. You were waiting. You're like, okay, something, because Jack always has that one moment where something works. But, or maybe we just feel that way later because you're now seeing the scene. Whatever it is. But it's immaculate. It's perfect the way it is.
And I will say, this movie has one of the greatest music videos to accompany it in the history of man. You got John Carpenter, Nick Castle, and Tommy Lee Wallace in a fucking... You got the director of Halloween, Halloween 3, and The Shape himself, sitting there, jamming out one of the best songs of all time.
Yeah. Tommy Wallace, who did Halloween 3. Carpenter did... And was a production designer of Halloween.
He was in the costume. He was in the shape.
He was the one that broke through in the closet.
Yeah.
And you got Nick Castle, who directed The Last Starfighter, and some other... Oh, man,
I think it was Problem Child or Dennis the Menace.
I think it
Dennis the Menace.
Wait, one of those two. It's always in the top of my head, but I got so much going on.
Somebody
I can't
asked me,
remember
like, what else did he direct? And I'm like, I know there was something better than what I'm telling you. And it was like, what, I told him.
But he was The Shape. And co-writer of Escape from New York. Remember, he got brought in to help Carpenter flesh out the script and all that other kind of shit. So you got this power trio of 80s awesomeness.
In tweed sweaters looking like fucking math teachers. It's great.
Oh
it's
my
perfect.
God, they looked like dorks. But it was awesome in the 80s. The video screams 80s.
Oh, the video is undeniably 80s.
Undeniably the 80s music video with all the pastel weird fucking colors going on. The directing style. It is what it is. But the movie itself is timeless. Anyway, everybody, you've heard us just go off on a tangent about a motion picture that we deeply love and deeply is a part of our memory, the family's memory, because literally so many times we quoted it to each other, so many times we did this to each other out in public, you know, all the other shit. And the reason this movie holds that place in our heart is just because it's good. And it is what it set out to be. And I think it's one of those movies that almost nobody is that good at directing and nobody's that good at acting. Just the stars lined up. It was skill, it was talent, it was all that. But sometimes everybody will get into a room together and say, did we really do that? Did we make that? Did we really do that? And it becomes more than what anybody could have hoped for and anybody could have imagined. And everything just falls in the right place. Because anything could have fucked this movie up, from the production designer sucking to the backlot set not looking quite right. Anything could have threw this thing. And everything just worked. And that's one of those things where you're just like, the divine smile came down and made this thing happen. So get out there, watch Big Trouble in Little China. It's one of the all-time great motion pictures in the history of cinema. If you don't think so, well, you're wrong.
I mean,
it's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
You hate me for saying that.
Opinions can be wrong, and that would be one of them.
That would be one of them, as Jack Burton would say. Anyway, be good. Take care. Stay out of trouble. Be kind to a stranger. Always help a friend. And above all else, no matter what, never
Drive faster than you can see, and besides that, it's all on the reflexes.
Ha ha!